Welcome to the 2020 New Testament Challenge. Today we're in Hebrews chapter 7. In order to understand what's taking place, we need to actually go back to Genesis. Genesis chapter 13. Abraham and Lot separate. Abraham, he goes one direction, but Lot goes down and pitches his tent towards Sodom and Gomorrah. Well, in chapter 14, 4 kings go to war against 5 kings. The 4 kings defeat the 5 kings and they capture Lot. When Abraham learns about this, he goes to rescue his nephew Lot. He takes 318 men from his own family and they go and they rescue Lot. They also bring back everything that those 4 kings had stolen. On the way back, the king of Salem comes out. His name is Melchizedek. And what does Abraham do? He publicly worships God and gives the priest, Melchizedek, a tenth of everything. He gives him a tithe. What do we learn about Melchizedek? There's only 3 verses in the Old Testament that talk about Melchizedek in this way. There are 3 chapters here in Hebrews that talk about Melchizedek. There is one other mention of Melchizedek, and that's a messianic psalm, Psalm 110. In that psalm, it says that the Messiah would be a priest forever in the order of Melchizedek. That's verse 4 of Psalm 110. Here in chapter 7 of Hebrews, we learn more about Melchizedek. It says that Melchizedek was king of Salem and priest of God Most High, and he met Abraham returning from the defeat of those kings. Abraham gave him a tenth of everything. First, it says that Melchizedek, his name means king of righteousness. It also means king of peace. Melchizedek, he had no genealogy, mother or father. He had no beginning and no end of life. How great was Melchizedek? Again, so great that Abraham gave him a tenth, a tithe of everything. This is 400 years before the law was even instituted. But Abraham was worshiping God publicly as he gave Melchizedek that tithe. When you think of Melchizedek, you think of Jesus. Jesus is our righteousness, and he is our peace. Jesus is King of Kings, and he is our great high priest. What do priests do? Priests stand in the gap. They intercede for the people. And Jesus is in the order of Melchizedek as our great high priest. And it says in verse 25, therefore he is able to save completely those who come to him through him, because he always lives to intercede for them. At this very moment, Jesus is interceding for you, and he's interceding for me. He lives to intercede for us as he lives forever. He is our great high priest. What else do priests do? They offer sacrifices for sin. Jesus is our perfect sacrifice. He was the lamb without blemish or spot, and therefore he was able to shed his perfect blood for us. His blood was shed to wash away all of our sin. But it was once and for all. It says here in verse 27, unlike other high priests, he does not need to offer sacrifice day after day, first for his own sins and then for the sins of the people. He sacrificed for their sins once for all when he offered himself. Jesus was the perfect sacrifice. As he was on the cross, what did he cry out to the Father? It is finished. When Jesus sacrificed himself, it was done. In the temple, the priests would always continually offer sacrifice. Their job was never done. There was no chair in the temple. But when Jesus offered himself as the perfect sacrifice, it says 3 different times here in Hebrews that after he sacrificed himself, he sat down because it was complete once and for all. Priests, they die, but Jesus as our great high priest lives forever. Melchizedek, when he came out to bless Abraham, what did he bring? He brought bread and he brought wine. On the night that Jesus was betrayed, he took bread and he took wine and he said, this is my body and this is my blood. My body broken for you and my blood shed for you to cover your sin. I'd like to take you to one other place, and that's in John chapter 8. Pharisees came to Jesus and they asked him, are you greater than our father Abraham? He died and so did the prophets. Who do you think you are? And then Jesus said in verse 56 of John chapter 8 that Abraham rejoiced at the thought of seeing my day. He saw it and was glad. Well, then the Pharisees, they listened to that and they said, You're not even yet 50 years old, and you've seen Abraham? Jesus then replied, Before Abraham was, I am. Thank you for joining the 2020 New Testament Challenge.